Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, or you find a way to lose. A true ambidextrious fighter is what Terence Crawford is. And there's a reason why a guy like Bob Arum, who's been around the sport for a long time, is going to tell you, aside from his differences with Terence Crawford, I wouldn't count Crawford out in any fight. I think what Crawford is looking for is Manny Pacquiao versus De La Hoya. Now, I'm going to tell y'all this. Canelo should be the favorite. Crawford has a chance to win. And I was kind of leaning towards Bud. But Bomac said something, and I didn't like what he said. He said their plan is for Crawford to basically just try to outbox Canelo and get a decision. And for that reason, I think Crawford's going to lose. You can come and try to box. You will lose. Because Canelo, if you're going to beat Canelo, you're going to have to hold your ground at some point. And you can't depend on the judges, man. Triple G beat Canelo in that first and second fight. They jerked Triple G. For Crawford to come in there knowing he's going to try to box, at least according to Bomac, I just think that's a recipe for disaster. I think Crawford's going to have to fight him. And there are going to be spots where he's going to have to fight him. You got to do him like Bivol did him. And what Bivol did is he boxed, but he punched as well. Bivol displayed the beauty of being a boxer-puncher. Combinations. Bing, Canelo. Canelo he didn't know what to do. He was like, shit. Every time when Canelo thought Bivol was about to stop, Bivol threw 4, 5, 6 extra punches. It was a combination punching. Crawford has to do that. But one thing Crawford has is ambidexterity. And he's equally skilled with that left hand and that right hand. And the more I sit back here and I try to understand Canelo and Crawford in the matchup, I may keep flip-flopping as far as who I think is going to win the fight. But the more I really start to peel this back, it becomes more intriguing to me because to get to the point where Crawford is, I think that ambidextrous quality he has is like something he developed out of like a survival instinct. You remember his right hand was messed up. That's why he just started really training on his left hand and became very good with his left hand. Because it was almost like survival. Because it sounds like he realized in these combat situations that he's in, he may not be able to depend on his right hand the way he used to before he injured it. So he knew he needed another weapon so that when he gets into these fights, that he wouldn't be doomed. And I think it's just like being in a situation where you have a stick and the other guy has a stick, but you can't wield your stick. Or you have a gun and the other guy has a gun, but you know your gun is jamming. Or you have a knife and the other guy has a knife, but for some reason his knife is sharper. The bottom line is you had to make sure that you can match fire with fire. And the fact that that dominant hand got injured may have been a blessing in disguise for him to come and develop that left hand as well. Because let's be for real. When you look at Terence Crawford and the way he operates, for the most part, I mean, for a guy who's right-handed, he's a damn southpaw. You know what I'm saying? He's a southpaw fighter, performing with each hand. And not just performing with each hand, I mean, like, together. The right complements the left complements the right. His stances, his movement, I even think his brain, he uses both sides of his brain. I mean, he's been able to attain an ability, grace, speed, and elegance in the ring that has helped him be helped him be in a certain readiness state that no fighter's been able to handle. So when you look at it like that, it's hard to think he's going to get in there with Canelo. And because of his ambidexterity, that he's not going to figure out a way, especially after like that third, fourth round, to start pulling off in the fight. Okay? Now, when we start trying to really understand Crawford and Crawford's hands, let me tell you, I hear people saying, well, his left hand is not stronger than the right hand, or the right hand isn't as strong as the left. Let's stop splitting hairs here. Terence Crawford has strength in both of those hands, okay? And I'm gonna tell you, I do think, now look, I don't know all this. It's just me rambling on, right? Because we just have conversations on this channel. But I do think that there may be some hereditary factors there, man. I mean, I look at Crawford's dad, his mom, how they're built, their temperaments, everything. But I think there may be the main reason for Crawford being able to be ambidextrous. I think it has something to do with just hereditary factors, man. And I think that's up to determine, like, the side of the brain that's going to be developed and more dominant. And in Crawford's case, maybe it's the hereditary factors or the fact he was shot in the damn head that you saw his brain have developed to be more dominant than his opponents. That's why boxing comes so easy for him. And that's why he can box from both stances and dominate from both stances. Look, it's not easy to be a step ahead of your opponents. 1 opponent, 10 opponents, 20 opponents, 30 opponents, but goddamn, all 40 plus opponents Crawford been in the ring with? I think he's over 40 fights. But anyway, that's crazy. Now this right here is a fact, right? I was doing some research earlier. Now, typically the left side of the brain controls the left side of the head, but the right side of the brain, but the right side of the body. So let me make sure I tell you that correctly, right? The left side of the brain controls the left side of the head, but the right side of the body. Likewise, the right side of the brain predominantly controls the right side of the head, but the left side of the body. Now, this is because the nerves cross over at the back of the neck. Thus, people with a dominant left side of the brain tend to be right-handed. In fact, 97% of right-handers are left brain dominant. Contrary to what might be expected, 68% of left-handers are also left brain dominant. That's crazy. About 19% of lefties and 3% of righties are right brain dominant. About 12% of lefties, close to 1% of total population, show about equal dominance of both sides. Now, that's from somebody, a guy named David Gershaw, Dr. Gershaw, who put together a study. Now, that is crazy. So what that tells me is Crawford is the exception, man. Okay? Because being ambidextrous, especially as a fighter, is just an esteemed quality, man, that among, I think, for me, among fighters. And you see some guys who are pretty good with switching, but they normally don't stay in it too long. But for a guy like Crawford who can just, from on your march, get set, go, that can step to you as a southpaw and fight the whole fight that way, I really think we had to go back to what Dr. Gershaw is saying here about people with a dominant left side of the brain tend to be right-handed, and people with a dominant right side of the brain tend to be left-handed. I think Crawford, his left and right side of his brain are equally dominant, and that's why when he gets in the ring, these guys can't handle it. Now, I'm kicking science here now. Like, this isn't no textbook Sesame Street shit. This is real knowledge building. The man can use the left and right side of his brain simultaneously to control the left and right sides of his body at the same time. That is crazy. The shit should be criminal. And I wonder, man, can somebody really... Everybody wants to be undefeated in boxing. But for these young cats coming up, they should study Terence Crawford and try to figure out, is there any way to attain the ambidexterity that he has? Maybe they go out there to Asia somewhere. They always got all these different fundamental things that they do that you don't see here in the States. You don't really see in Europe. Maybe they go out there and adopt, I don't know, double stick drills and shit, juggling ping pong balls, or I don't know. But do something that requires you to use both your hands and to use both sides of your brain. Because maybe that can help develop a weak hand, making it more dominant, teaching it to borrow the movements of the dominant hand. I really think that's what Crawford ended up doing, where he broke his right hand and had to just use his left hand for everything. I think this is exactly what Crawford did. Is he had that weak hand and he developed it. He using it all the time, and he was able to teach it to do the same movements and develop the equal power of that dominant hand. Okay? Now, for those of you who are saying, man, you're just out here rambling on, what are you talking about? Look, I think there's a little bit more. I put it this way. You see people who lose a hand or lose strength in their hand and their dominant hand, all of a sudden they develop the left hand to right and do everything they do with the other hand. So training your weak hand to become as functional as your dominant hand, I think it's possible. And I think in combat, I think that means you may have to do what Crawford did and reverse roles. Because that's exactly what he did. He reversed roles. Anyway, let's see how this all plays out, because I truly believe that Crawford being ambidextrous, it could create a problem for Canelo. And there could be a difference in just his strength and Canelo feeling like if a guy, put it this way, if Crawford comes out southpaw, Canelo's going to shoot in the right hand. But Canelo, if he's trying to get out of the way of Crawford's left, because he's southpaw in the southpaw stance, he's running into his right, which is his dominant hand. Right or left, no matter what way Canelo goes, I mean, he runs the risk of getting hit with some shit. Because Crawford, again, he's developed the power in the left hand to equally match the right hand. Matter of fact, his left hand may be faster, more powerful, and more accurate than his right hand. And that's just being real. Anyway, let's see what they're going to do, because I'm really curious about the training and the preparation. I know it's not till September, but I also want to know who he's going to be fighting as an interim fight, if he's going to do it. Because him getting in the ring with Canelo is a serious affair, man. It's not a game. This is a very interesting picture of a fight that's about to take place. And I'm telling you right now, I think we all have an obligation, man, to really try to appreciate what we're about to see. Because if this fight comes through, I'm telling you right now, it could end up being a story where Crawford's right hand made the difference. Or it could be the story where the left hand, again, seals the deal. But nonetheless, I think this is a case of Canelo entering the fight with a sword and Crawford entering the fight with two swords. And has the ability to change position from left to right and stab at Canelo at any time, where Canelo just has the one weapon. And when I say one weapon, that doesn't mean Canelo just try to follow the examples I'm giving. Crawford has the two swords, the left and right hand. Canelo has the one sword, the right hand. I'm not saying Canelo doesn't have a hook, a jab, or uppercut. So some of y'all hear some shit and run to the comment section. I'm not saying Canelo can't do a lot. But for those of you who get what I'm saying, just keep rocking with me. This could be a case of Crawford having two swords and Canelo having one. And Crawford being able to, instantaneously utilize both of those weapons, and he can instantaneously alter the use of those weapons and a radical play scheme. And I just think for his adversary, like Canelo, if the power isn't going to be enough to halt or discourage Crawford, I think we're going to see something very compelling. and it's going to be for some fans an unexpected and something they didn't anticipate, which is going to be a change in Canelo that they never seen in that ring when he's getting hit from the left and right hands or getting stabbed by the two swords of Crawford in a fight where Canelo needs more than just that right hand. But nonetheless, we got to wait and see how it plays out. But this may be a case where the ambidextrious fighter is entering that ring with two super sharp, super powerful swords. And the guy who's the favorite has been getting the job done with one sword. And now he's kind of met his match. And his match just happens to be a guy who's coming up from a lower weight class. And this could be a Pacquiao de la Hoya type situation. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Big up the ambidextrous Terence Crawford. Can't wait to see this fight. I just think they're going to have to hold their ground and fight and use those 2 weapons that he has instead of just moving around and just boxing and not really utilizing those weapons he has to stab up Canelo in that ring, because I don't think the judge is going to give it to Terence Crawford. I just don't. Anyway, y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.